Every morning before the school bell rang, students gathered in clusters, laughing, gossiping, or scrolling through their phones. But when she walked in, wrapped in a brown, ragged cardboard box from head to waist, silence fell. Her name was Mela, though most just called her the Carton girl. Nobody knew what she looked like and nobody dared to ask. Her eyes, the only visible part, were often swollen red from crying. But she never missed school. Never. Whispers followed her like shadows. She must be hideous, one student said. Maybe her face is burned, another speculated. Mela never responded. She sat at the back of the class, never raised her hand, never looked up. Teachers tried calling her parents, but no one ever answered. She ate lunch alone, using a straw poked through the side of the box. To everyone she was more of a myth than a person. One day, a new boy named Dre entered the class, tall with rebellious energy in his walk. He glanced at Mela and her carton and laughed under his breath. But as days passed, his curiosity grew. Unlike the others, he didn't mock her loudly or avoid sitting near her. Instead he watched, quietly, observing the way she flinched when others laughed, the way she trembled when someone accidentally bumped her. And he wondered, what's really behind that box? It was during art class when it happened. The teacher told everyone to partner up for a self-portrait project. Mela, as usual, sat alone. But Dre strolled over and dropped his pencil beside her. "I'll be your partner," he said casually. The room fell silent. Eyes darted between the two like it was a forbidden pairing. Mela froze. She didn't speak, didn't move, didn't even look at him. But Dre didn't walk away. Later that day, as Dre handed her a drawing of a faceless girl in a carton, he whispered, "You don't have to show me your face. But I want to know your story." Mela stared at the drawing in silence. That night she didn't sleep. His words kept echoing. Your story. Not her face. Not her appearance. Her story. The next morning, as she walked past the school gate, someone accidentally brushed past her, tearing a part of the carton near her jawline. Gasps echoed around. Mela clutched the ripped piece and ran to the bathroom, locking herself in. Her chest pounded. Tears flowed silently. But inside her, something stirred. She hadn't screamed. She hadn't crumbled. And she wasn't dead. For the first time, a small flicker of courage lit up in her heart. That night, Mela stood before her cracked mirror at home. Her house was barely livable, walls damp, floors creaking, and silence deeper than the grave. She slowly peeled off the carton and stared at her reflection. Her face wasn't monstrous. It wasn't burned. But a long, jagged scar stretched from her eyebrow to the corner of her lip. A reminder of a night she wished she could forget. She remembered the fire. The screams. The way her stepmother locked her in a closet, blaming her for everything that went wrong. "You're cursed," the woman had spat. "No one will ever look at you and not feel disgust." After her father died, Mela was hidden from the world. Only allowed out for school but never without the carton. It was her shield. Her prison. But Dre's voice haunted her thoughts. "I want to know your story. Not pity. Not judgment. Just curiosity." That simple act of kindness had planted a seed. And even though her heart was buried under layers of fear, she felt something bloom. A question, what if someone could really see her, and not flinch? A week later, the popular girls in class, led by Shira the queen bee, devised a cruel plan. During gym class, they dared each other to yank the carton off Mela's head. "Let's see the monster," Shira giggled, her voice laced with venom. While the teacher stepped out, Shira crept up behind Mela, fingers twitching with excitement. But Dre stood in the way. "Don't," he said, eyes blazing. Shira scoffed. "Why are you defending her? Is this a pity project?" Dre didn't answer. Instead, he turned to Mela and offered his hand. "Come with me." Shocked, she followed him outside to the basketball court, the sun blinding through the slit in her carton. "I won't touch it," Dre said. "But you need to know, people don't get to define you. Not her. Not anyone." Mela didn't speak. But later that day she ripped off the carton's top piece and kept only the lower half. It was her quiet rebellion. And the students noticed. By lunchtime the school buzzed with rumors. "She took half of it off. I saw her hair. It's actually nice." Mela, once invisible, was now the most talked about person. Some mocked her still, but others began watching with cautious curiosity. The mystique around the carton girl was unraveling and not everyone liked it. Shira was furious. Her attention was slipping, and Dre's focus had completely shifted. She devised another plan, more dangerous, more humiliating. She planted a small mirror in Mela's locker with a note. "Look at yourself, freak." Now you see what we see. Mela found it after school. She stared at the cracked mirror for minutes, her reflection distorted. But instead of sobbing, she did something unexpected. She smiled just barely. Not because she believed she was beautiful, but because she no longer believed she was worthless. Photography Club announced a school-wide contest. Capture raw emotion. Dre signed up and asked Mela to be his subject. You don't have to show your face. Just be you. She hesitated. But Dre had always kept his word. No forcing. No mocking. Just respect. And trust. The day of the shoot, Mela wore her half-carton and stood in a broken hallway behind the school. Dre captured her silhouette against the cracked wall, her eyes fierce and fragile all at once. When the photos were revealed, everyone stopped and stared. The image was powerful. Mela didn't look like a victim. She looked like a storm waiting to break free. The photo won first place. And the school started seeing her differently, not as the ugly girl, but as someone. Someone with a story. Someone who might just be braver than all of them. Weeks passed. Mela started wearing just a hoodie instead of the carton. It felt strange, vulnerable, but freeing. Her scars were still there. Her eyes still cautious. But she walked taller. One morning she found a note in her desk. It wasn't signed. Just a single sentence. You're the strongest person I've ever seen. Her heart skipped. Was it Dre? Someone else? She didn't know. But that one line had more power than 1,000 compliments. She carried it in her pocket like armor. But with attention came new dangers. A boy named Ron, envious of Dre's rising popularity, started spreading rumors that Dre was just using Mela to win the contest. He doesn't care about her. He just wants to be famous, he claimed. Mela heard the whispers and doubt crept in. Had she been played? Mela avoided Dre for 3 days. He noticed, of course. Finally, he cornered her behind the library and asked, "What did I do?" She didn't answer. Just looked away. "You think I did this for a contest?" he asked, genuinely hurt. "I didn't need a photo to see how powerful you are." She searched his eyes. There was no mockery. No lies. Just something raw and real. "Then why?" she whispered. "Why me?" Dre shrugged. "Because you're the only one here who doesn't fake who they are. Everyone wears a mask. Yours just happened to be made of cardboard." Her eyes welled up. Not with sadness, but with the terrifying realization that someone finally saw her. All of her. The school announced a Spirit Week, with each day having a different theme. On No Mask Monday, students were encouraged to be authentic. Mela considered skipping. But that morning she looked in the mirror and made a decision. She entered school with her hoodie down, face fully revealed for the first time. Her scar shimmered faintly under the lights. People stared. Some gasped. One girl whispered, "She's not even ugly." Another murmured, "She's beautiful." Not because of flawless skin, but because of the fire in her eyes. Shira, livid at being upstaged, tried to reclaim the spotlight by faking a fall in the cafeteria. Nobody looked. Nobody cared. All eyes were on Mela. And she didn't flinch. During a school trip to the History Museum, Mela wandered into an old photo archive room. While flipping through a dusty album, her breath caught. There, in a black and white photo from decades ago, was a woman with her exact scar. She stared. The name below read, Amira W. That night, Mela scoured the attic of her home. Among her late father's things she found a box of letters. One envelope was labeled for Mela, "When she's ready." With trembling hands she opened it. Inside was a photo of Amira W. Her grandmother. A war journalist, disfigured, saving children from a burning building. The scar wasn't a curse, it was a legacy. Tears streamed down Mela's face. For the first time her scar felt like a badge of honor. The next week chaos struck. A small explosion rocked the chemistry lab. Someone had rigged a pressure canister as a prank. No one was seriously hurt, but panic filled the school. In the middle of the smoke-filled hallway, Mela saw Shira collapse near the lockers, coughing and frozen with fear. Everyone else had run. But Mela ran toward her. "Get up!" Mela shouted, grabbing her arm. Shira's eyes widened when she saw who it was. "You're supposed to be hiding," she rasped. "Why are you helping me?" Mela didn't answer. She simply dragged her out into the open air. For once, Shira had no witty comeback. Just silence. That act flipped the entire school on its head. The once laughed-at Carton girl had become the school's unexpected hero. But Mela didn't want praise. She just wanted peace. Still, she could feel the world tilting. Something was about to change, again. Rumors swirled that the explosion was no accident, and that Mela was the target. Someone had written her name on the canister in faint ink. She found out the next day when someone slipped her a photo of it in her locker. Her hands trembled as she looked around. The whispers had started again, darker this time. That night she did something no one expected. She showed up the next morning wearing the full carton again. Silent. Still. Unreadable. Dre was the only one who dared approach her. "What are you doing?" he asked softly. "I thought you were done hiding." "I'm not hiding," she replied quietly through the box. "I'm protecting myself, again. Just for now." But Dre knew. Mela was slipping into fear again, and someone out there wanted that. Someone didn't want her truth to shine. Dre didn't sit still. He broke into the AV Club's equipment room and downloaded hallway camera footage from the day of the explosion. He spent hours combing through it. Finally, he found something. A grainy clip of Ron sneaking into the lab minutes before the blast. Carrying something. Dre showed it to the principal. Ron was suspended immediately. But Dre didn't stop there. He confronted Ron in the parking lot after school. "Why her? Why target her?" Ron shrugged, then spat, "Because she was winning. And people like her aren't supposed to win." The truth hit like a slap. It was never about Mela being ugly. It was about power. About fear. Ron feared what Mela represented, resilience. And that fear made him cruel. The story exploded across the school network. Posts, memes, and clips of Mela dragging Shira out of the smoke flooded every group chat. Even her scarred face became a symbol, shared with captions like, "Scars don't make you broken. They make you real." Mela walked through the halls that week not as a ghost, but as someone finally seen. She didn't wear the carton anymore. Not even the hoodie. And while people still whispered it wasn't in mockery, it was in awe. But fame has shadows. Reporters tried to show up. Strangers tried to follow her. Dre stayed close, protective but silent. And Mela began wondering, what happens when the scar they admire stops being a trend? Then one morning Dre didn't show up. Not in class. Not at lunch. Not anywhere. No calls. No messages. Mela felt a familiar fear crawl into her chest. For someone who had become her anchor, his absence felt like a storm without warning. That evening she went to his usual spot, the rooftop of the library. Empty. Then she found a note taped under the bench. "I'm not who you think I am. I can't be around you right now. Stay strong. D." Mela's world cracked again. Not from cruelty. But from abandonment. Desperate for answers, Mela returned to the photography room where Dre had taken her first photo. She searched the storage drawers, unsure what she hoped to find. But behind a stack of folders she found a voice recorder, still running. She pressed play. Static. Then Dre's voice. "I think I'm falling for her. But I don't know how to be enough. I'm not brave like she is. I'm scared if she sees the real me she'll walk away." Tears ran down Mela's cheeks. He hadn't left because he stopped caring. He'd left because he cared too much. But what did he mean by not being enough? Then she remembered, Dre never mentioned family. Never mentioned home. And he always lingered at school long after it ended. He wasn't just protecting her. He was hiding too. 3 nights later, Mela returned to the rooftop again. This time Dre was there, curled in his hoodie, eyes hollow. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. "I listened to the recording," she replied softly. "I didn't want you to see me like this," he admitted. "I don't even live with my parents. I've been couch hopping. Lying to everyone. I'm nothing." Mela stepped forward, voice trembling but steady. "You're not nothing. You're someone who gave me strength when I had none. Someone who saw me when everyone else looked away. That's not nothing." They sat in silence for a long time, side by side. 2 broken pieces that didn't quite fit the world, but somehow fit each other. Graduation came faster than expected. Mela wore her gown proudly, scar visible, head high. When it was her turn to speak, voted Student Voice of the Year, she stepped onto the podium and paused. She pulled out the last piece of cardboard she ever wore. Held it up for the entire crowd to see. "This," she said, "used to be my protection. My wall. My prison. I wore it so you wouldn't see me. But someone did. And because of that, I don't need it anymore." She dropped it. The carton hit the floor with a soft thud that echoed louder than any applause. Mela smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because she had survived. And for the first time, she didn't feel ugly at all.